Hi everyone, this is Dane Dormio, and today I'd like to talk with you in more detail about the fourth of the basic four Qigong patterns. This pattern has kind of a funny name that is just one that I made up because it seems appropriate. It's called the Egyptian crane, and you'll see from the shape of this movement why I call it that. It's the most descriptive thing I could think of, actually. As I mentioned in the last video, the previous video on the third of the basic four movement patterns, yin circles and yang circles, the third and the fourth patterns are more characteristic of martial Qigong. And this fourth pattern is distinct from the others in that it involves not only weight shifting but also standing on one leg. So that is a pretty obvious way that it is more of a martial emphasis because it's developing one-legged balance. But you'll see that it also puts a lot of emphasis on getting the entire body open and mobile. And you'll see how that works. I'll demonstrate the movement from the front and from the side, and then I'll talk in more detail about what's going on and explain some of the common pitfalls to avoid, and then also talk about some of the variations of this pattern. So this is how the movement looks from the front. And then from the side, so as you can see, we're not only shifting the weight so that it's completely over one foot, but we're also allowing the other leg to float up. Now, the reason I call this the Egyptian crane is the crane is a reference to the fact that we are standing on one leg. And in the old Egyptian hieroglyphic paintings, people are always painted in two dimensions, so their bodies are always silhouetted like this. And this is a reference to the fact that the body is at right angles, and it's mostly flat. In other words, the arms, when they come up, are in the plane of the body like this and like this. We don't want them to be out here in front like this or in back like this. The arms are in the plane of the body. This shoulder makes a right angle. This elbow makes a right angle. And this shoulder and elbow will not quite be a right angle unless you're particularly flexible. But the main thing is that we want to be still following the principle of always lifting the arm in alignment with gravity. So we're bringing the elbow up out here to the side in the plane of the body, and the forearm and wrist are hanging down from that. And then also the leg that is up also has right angles in it. A right angle here at the hip so that our thigh is vertical, and a right angle here at the knee as the lower leg and the foot just hang down. So that's the basic shape of the body in this configuration. There are some potential pitfalls associated with this, mainly having to do with how we shift the weight. This has horizontal shifting, weight shifting, it doesn't have a rotational component or an up and down component. We could introduce an up and down component in the variations if we wanted to, similarly to how with the yin and yang circles we have weight shifting, and we can introduce down to the middle and up to the outside, or down to the outside and up to the middle. We could introduce an up and down component with this in the same way, linking up the cycles so that they match up following the principle of cycles and synchronicity. So when we're shifting the weight, we want to cleanly and smoothly shift the weight all the way into one foot so that we're balanced there, and the other one, having 0% of the body's weight, just floats up. In other words, we're allowing the leg to float up rather than lifting the leg. Also, the ideal posture for this, as I pointed out, will be having the thigh horizontal and the shin be vertical, which should be reasonably easy to do for most people. If it's whatever your range of motion is, though, is fine for you. If you need to dial this movement down to make it a little bit easier for you, then any distance or any degree to which the foot floats up is fine, even if it's still touching the ground. So just because this is the sort of textbook shape doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go that far. Likewise, with opening the arms, the point is not to hold the ideal shape rigidly, but is to have the body soft and fluid and expansive and open. So however far you can get towards this ideal alignment while staying soft and relaxed is where you want to work. The point is not to force your body into position rigidly, but to allow it to expand and open into the posture. The other ways that we could vary this, as I mentioned, we can incorporate a down and up component. So if we incorporated a down, so one way we can vary this is by incorporating a down and up component, and what that would look like would be, one example being, as we are going towards the outside, we're going down, and as we are shifting, we're going up, towards the outside and down, shifting up. Or it could be the opposite, where we're going towards the outside and up, and then as we shift, we go down, towards the outside and up, or shift and down. We can also vary the breath, the synchronicity of the breath. Typically, when we're going towards the outside, by default, when we're going towards the outside, we'll be exhaling and inhaling, going towards the middle, and exhaling, going towards the outside. We could reverse this phase so that we are exhaling towards the middle, inhaling towards the outside. We can also switch which hand is up and which is down. So the default mode of this has the leg that comes up, the hand goes up on the opposite side, and the hand on the same side goes down. But we could also reverse the phase of that so that the leg is up and the hand are up on the same side. So these are different variations of the movement that we can experiment with. The basic shape is that we're shifting the weight from one side to the other completely 100% into one foot, so the other foot becomes light and empty and floats off the ground. and we're opening the chest at the same time as the leg is floating up. And then the way that the hands come together is in a diagonal shape so that the palms pass by one another. And this happens when the weight is in the middle. So as we are shifting from one side to the other, the palms will come together to this symmetric position right in the middle. So this is the default position for this movement. This is sort of the neutral midpoint that we cross over each time as we transition from one end to the other. So this particular pattern or family of patterns is obviously has a benefit of developing one leg balance. You can pause this at any point and generate a posture, just like with all the other patterns. So the one way you can intensify this, if you wanted to increase the difficulty, the challenge a notch, would be that you could pause at the endpoints where the leg is up and just spend time there, spend time sinking, relaxing, aligning, softening, allowing your body to open into that configuration. And if you wanted to increase the challenge level even more, then you could do it with your foot out, with your legs straight and your foot at any height that you could manage, whatever height is comfortable. And you could spend more time there allowing your body to open and soften into that position. It's not really necessary to bring your leg up to any particular height. It's not necessary, certainly, to go above the level of the hip, although if you developed your range of motion and your stability to that degree, that would be great. But the main focus is not on how far you can go, how far you can stretch, how hard you can do it, but on how soft, relaxed, stable, and aligned you can be within whatever range of motion you have to work with. So I hope that this information is useful to you. I hope you're able to incorporate these principles into your practice and spend some time experimenting with, playing with, exploring, getting to know this particular family of patterns. You'll notice as you develop the sensitivity and awareness of shifting the weight smoothly and cleanly out of one foot into another foot, that shifting weight is actually from one foot to another is actually something that we do hundreds if not thousands of times in a typical day, often very unconsciously. So just having the awareness on a micro level of this process proceeding cleanly, smoothly, efficiently, and effectively will have a big difference on your overall movement in your ordinary daily life. So thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining me on this lifelong mind-body mastery journey. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.